It's hard to say if I'll make a follow-up video in the future going over another piece, if not the rest of long video history, despite the fact that this video you are currently watching has taken me months to make. And I think there being a continuation or sequel to a video like this just isn't ideal. I imagine some of you would absolutely want more of this, but the future's uncertain. Anything could happen.
Long Video Roulette is an exactly 50-minute long video that was uploaded to this channel exactly 1 year ago as of this video being uploaded. This video being a far in-depth explanation surrounding the 1,000-hour long video, which is a video that was uploaded to this channel exactly 2 years ago. To summarize Long Video Roulette, it was made to express a 17-month journey that me and a couple friend groups embarked on, this journey being to watch 1,000 hours of long-form content on YouTube. Upon first ever hearing this, it's likely this definition of long-form content is imagined as long video essays on simple subjects, meticulously lengthy reviews, analyzations, and so on, which is a completely understandable definition for long-form content. Skimming through the long videos watch playlist of ours containing an excessive number of videos, you'll come across that not even a tenth of the videos fit under that definition. In fact, you're extremely likely to find countless 10-hour video loops of music or long-form content that isn't meant to be watched all the way through, like Top 2000 Cheese, or Michael Says Prime Numbers for 3 hours, and How to Create a Folder in Windows 10. That isn't to say that's all we watch. On the off chance, you'll stumble across a few well-known long video essays you've probably seen, and others not so much. Long Video Roulette was brought to life not only to convey our 17-month journey and describe our definition of long videos, but to spread and share the best of the long videos we have watched for us and others to value, admire, and appreciate. At some point in Long Video Roulette, I answered a question in advance that people would definitely ask relating to Long Video Roulette. One of the most important questions surrounding Long Video Roulette: will there be a second one? I answered no, most likely not. Whether I didn't have it in me, or it was better off there being only one Long Video Roulette. Since that statement, I, like I always do, slowly considered a second Long Video Roulette for the next anniversary. Long videos continued after the 1,000-hour long video, which I'll get to in a minute. We didn't just come to a halt at that 1,000-hour milestone. By the time Long Video Roulette came around, we had consumed over another 600 hours of long videos. Long Video Roulette only documented the first 1,000 hours of long videos. As much as there was plenty more to add, I didn't. Now that I'm sitting here, developing Long Video Roulette 2, it only feels right we document the next 1,000 hours of long videos. The second 1,000-hour long video was finalized on June 7th, 2025, being under construction for over 19 months. This video, including the first 1,000-hour long video, contained every long video we had watched. Of course, these videos weren't actually 1,000 hours. That isn't possible on YouTube, and any major attempts at doing so ultimately fail. And even if I could, I would most definitely get in trouble for re-uploading a month and a half's worth of content to my channel where practically all of it isn't mine. To improvise, every long video would be sped up by 100 times, or 10,000% speed, to make uploading these videos actually feasible, which, thinking about it, just feels more wrong. Like, it's still re-uploaded even if you can't tell what on earth is happening. There's also movies in here too, which just makes that worse. These videos would mark our milestones of watching 1,000 hours of long videos. As the description states, it's serving as a reward and taking a trip down memory lane. By this point, we've caught up with just about everything. It's greatly recommended, but not obligated to watch the first Long Video Roulette if you haven't. Though, not every minute topic during this summary was fully explained that will expectedly be mentioned later in this prolific video. That being said, here's to Long Video Roulette 2. Long Video Roulette featured two categories for introducing long videos: the very special long videos and honorable mentions. These two categories for the most part were separated and not mentioned back and forth along the way. The honorable mention videos were also special in a way, but awkward to really format and elucidate some of them in this video, like Nyan Cat 12 Hours or Snowy Except It Keeps Getting Slower. They both loop a song for multiple hours and one of them gets slower over time, something I, and perhaps others, are obsessed with. There's not much more to say about it. Part of me wonders if the term honorable mention is even correct for these videos. They're noteworthy, sure, but these videos feel placed in this class not because they're inferior, but more of a strange awkwardness to throw light on. Regardless, these honorable noteworthy mentioned videos will be shown and played in the background near the end of this video after the more substantial, straightforward special videos are talked about. You shouldn't take away from this that these videos aren't remarkable enough to be watched. I strongly believe you should check out some of the honorable mention videos even if they're not included and talked about more in detail in the earlier portion of this video. Really, every video can be special to anyone. For all I know, someone's favorite long video that we've watched could be Bone Trousil except it keeps getting faster and faster Undertale 3-3. So, with all of that out of the way, let's begin. July 27th, 1978 was the day this Garfield comic strip, created by Jim Davis, was published. Just seems like an ordinary Garfield comic strip. Not to this guy, though. July 27, 1978 is revolved around this singular Garfield comic strip for the entire 61-minute runtime of the video, and the production quality is unnecessarily through the roof. This goes with the cinematography, the acting, the editing, the story writing. It's beautiful and is favorited by many out there, some calling it a glorious piece of media and the only appropriate response to what Garfield is as a piece of media. There are many fascinating facts about this video, such as the actor, John Blyth Barrymore, giving this 1-hour monologue surrounding this one Garfield comic strip in nearly one take, any cuts being unnoticeable at first. I'm positive most have already seen or heard of this, but if you haven't, it will exceed your expectations, as tedious and confusing as it may seem. A bundle of soundtracks from mostly games have been watched as long videos, specifically 19. Out of these 19 soundtracks, there's one that comes off as very powerful, something that really makes you sit there and ponder, wow, this is enthralling. I mean a soundtrack that's strong, not something like Ridge Racer Type 4 soundtrack, though listening to that feels more compelling and energetic than deep-rooted. I mean the OMORI soundtrack. The soundtrack for this game goes to a great extent with the tracks and length overall, the genre of music all around varying from otherworldly synth to electrifying yet tense guitar work to straight ambient wind, and to countless tracks that you focus so deep into that you start crumbling into pieces. OMORI has been universally heard in some aspect, whether you've heard part of the soundtrack literally anywhere or seen media of it in some form. The game's visuals, story, and soundtrack are remarkably flawless. I think the point I'm getting at here is OMORI is something worth checking out. It's not just the soundtrack, it's the game as a whole. BOW-ZRRRRRRRRRR, followed with almost 100 R's and a 5 at the end, is the 5th part of a Super Mario Maker series from Carl Sagan 42, who explores Super Wagon World created by the Bandwagon team. Super Wagon World is the biggest Mario Maker collab in history, being in the works for 3 years by over 100 people that contains 35 levels ranging from unblemished troll levels to hilarious glitches and overall very unique and original concepts. The list goes on, with codes throughout the levels leading through a story on an entire website, Carl exclaiming this was the most fun he's ever had on Mario Maker, which says a lot considering he's been a part of the Mario Maker community for a decade.
This has been such a fantastic time. Probably the best time that I've had playing Mario Maker 2. It has been so fun.
This series from Carl would be 8 hours total in length, split into 9 separate videos, most of them being long enough to qualify as a long video, though only the 5th part has been watched. I myself have watched the entire series in my free time at some point, and I highly recommend checking out the series 2 as a whole, it containing many clever, hilarious, and enjoyable moments, which is what makes this series excellent. We're not quite finished with this segment yet. This was the last long video on the second wheel. For context, Long Video Roulette got its name because of a wheel we created that contained dozens of long videos, and whatever video it landed on, we had to watch it. The last long video on the first wheel was The Possible Quiz, which is an extremely well-made video essay by Tamago on the impossible quiz that was featured in the first Long Video Roulette. Now, the last long video on the second wheel was Carl's, partially, outstanding Super Wagon World experience, also being an extremely well-made video and series that's also featured in this video. I find it surprising that the final long video on both wheels were immaculate videos. There was a possibility that the final long video on the first wheel could have been how to make a slow-cooked beef stew, and Bone Trouser except it keeps getting faster and faster Undertale 3-3 on the second wheel. Nonetheless, I'm happy with how the wheels ended up turning out, and that closes off the second wheel. So, what's next? Third wheel? We'll also get to that in a minute. We had a pretty special video planned ahead for when the second wheel was completed, that special video being The Possible Quiz 2 by Tamago. This would not only be an incredible video essay on the second installment of the Impossible Quiz series, but a bigger and better video essay than the previous with diligent editing climbing over 2 hours in length. Again, like the first Possible Quiz video from Tamago, this is the best video I've watched in general that covers the Impossible Quiz 2. This video is also one of the biggest and most difficult projects Tamago has worked on. Though, I always say this narrative with some of the big long videos mentioned, and I feel it would be more authentic and special if you didn't hear it from me, but from Tamago himself.
The Possible Quiz is to this day the biggest video project I've ever worked on. It's 2 hours and I think 7 minutes of a really highly edited video. You know, I've done long videos before that weren't as involved with editing, but this one, every single second is accounted for in this video. So it's the largest project by far that I've worked on, and it took 8 months of work for me to get it out. My last video before it came out in January, this video ended up coming out in September. So it took a really long time. In that time, I had a lot of life events. People in my family were getting married. And in the middle of me grinding on this video, it's like, all right, I'm attending this wedding, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. A lot of things were happening. Yeah, it was quite an experience. And I think because it was a sequel, I wanted to make sure that it was truly justified in its existence, rather than just feeling like, oh, he just made another one. I wanted it to feel like part 2. Like, you can't just watch part 1 now. You have to also see part 2, and it has the conclusion to the story. So I'm glad I was able to pull it together. I'm glad that Splap himself got involved. I mean, we created this t-shirt through the Possible Quiz videos. And with a video like this, it is a scripted video. It's a combination of the script and the live stream. And so writing took forever. I think the script was upwards of 30 pages long. So I had to be really disciplined when it came to writing this video. I was making sure that I wrote every single day, even if it was just a little bit, because you didn't want procrastination to get in the way, because then the video is just going to take even longer to come out. And then once the script was written, editing the video after filming it took ages. As someone who edits my own stuff, when you're working on a project as large as this, it actually begins to feel like you're playing your own personal video game that you've created for yourself that no one else can play. It's your game and you're just trying to 100% this game. That's actually how it starts to feel for me when it comes to really long projects like this. That whole time I wasn't posting any other video on my channel, and I was getting the itch to make videos, so I started posting on my second channel just to have something else I was working on, because I'm a creator through and through. I like making things, and so working on this one project and not putting anything out, I was like, all right, let me just make these short videos and just put them on the second channel, which I don't even like use anymore. I just put stuff like on my main channel now. So yeah, I'm just really grateful. Massive video. Am I gonna do something like that again? I don't know, but I'm glad I did it. At least I'm glad.
Shortly after we had finished the Possible Quiz 2, it was time to begin the third wheel. Looking back at these wheels, the first wheel simply contained over 40 long videos, the second wheel containing 125 long videos. However, a gimmick would be implemented that splits the second wheel into 2 different categories. One wheel holding long videos that are relatively short, most not surpassing 5 hours in length, and the other wheel holding nothing but 10+ hour long videos. Both wheels would include a swap entry that sends you back and forth when landed on. The third wheel would only contain 50 long videos this time, though there would also be a gimmick for this wheel. The wheel would always start off with 5 entries, each being labeled as a person who has participated in long videos. Whichever person it landed on, it would go to their wheel. Each person's wheel would have 10 long videos that they added themselves. The rules are, of course, the videos have to be 50 minutes or longer to qualify as a long video, only one long video can exceed 12 hours in length, and nothing exceeding 24 hours. Thankfully, no nobody purposefully inserted a painful video like this, and only 2 long videos above 12 hours in length were added to the wheels. The variety the third wheel had was a lot better than the second wheel. For more context, the second wheel was a pain because at some point we landed on the hard wheel and would not land back on the 1 in 4 swap entry 10 times. Twice! So thankfully, the third wheel won't have the same purgatory effect.
This is the beginning of something new. You ready?
It's gonna be me.
It's gonna be you.
What?
Oh, what? Alright. Oh, no, not me. Dude, I swear to God. Dude, I have like the longest video.
Yay, let's land on it first.
If we get the 19-hour, I swear to God, this has nothing to do with me, okay? I swear to God, are you kidding me? Wait, really?
This is a joke. This is a joke. No.
19, that's the second longest video, instantly. Wow. I called it too. Are you actually out of, what the
Sex survey results is a nearly 5-hour-long video by Lasagna Cat, who also uploaded July 27, 1978. With that statement, Sex survey results is also a stunningly high-quality production video. There's a huge difference between these two videos, one being a drawn-out soliloquy of a Garfield comic strip, and the other being sex survey results. 2 weeks prior to sex survey results being uploaded, Lasagna Cat would upload 1-800-591-3274 where they insinuate the viewer to call that toll-free number, address their name and number of sexual partners they've had. Fast forward 2 weeks, sex survey results would be uploaded among 10 other videos on the same day, one being July 27, 1978. These are the last batch of videos on the channel. Around 1,000 results would be revealed throughout the nearly 5-hour sex survey results video. John, Garfield, and Odie would take turns entering the door to be greeted with a mannequin, this mannequin representing a caller that states their name and number of sexual partners. The sequence then pans out into a newspaper in the form of a 3-panel Garfield comic strip before endlessly repeating. This video has a lot of layers to it. To the naked eye, it just seems like the same repetitive sequence over and over, and it is, aside from the fact that many details are unique and different over time. The clock and time of day seen throughout the video changes in real time, the mannequins start to deform the further in and are all distinctive in the headline, and more details become subtle the longer you sit and watch this for. It's a really good video. If it wasn't hinted at enough already, everything surrounding the Lasagna Cat channel is elegantly genius and is truly worth viewing, though some of the content may be unsettling. The endless sequence in the last few minutes of sex survey results actually breaks and becomes even more cinematic before the very end reveals graphic content that I can't show. And the video isn't even age restricted, likely for artistic purposes? It has a meaning though. The entire Lasagna Cat channel has a meaning. That Garfield and Jim Davis aren't funny. I will forever applaud Lasagna Cat for the sheer amount of effort and dedication they put into all of this. As a matter of fact, the aforementioned toll-free number is still active to this day. It's been almost 9 years, and it's still being paid for somewhere out there.
Alright.
Lasagna Cat, he's coming back if you see your name and partner count. By calling in.
Like what?
Grab the right to it,
Maybe Lasagna Cat will return next year? Who knows? Last to Leave VC Wins $50,000 is the 4th installment of the Last to Leave VC series hosted by Isaac Y. Last to Leave VC has been a yearly tradition for the last 5 years, having the group gather around and stay in a VC until the last one standing gets a large amount of money, with many twists, gimmicks, and surprises along the way. Each yearly installment of the series would always be topped off more than the last with much larger and longer hilarious content with many more surprises. The amount of effort and dedication Isaac and others put into editing these videos are insane, with lots of cuts and countless effects at every moment. The first long video roulette included the previous installment, Last to Leave VC Wins $25,000, which may not be as long as the next installment, but in my opinion, is pretty close to being as enjoyable in many aspects as the 4th installment. That shouldn't downplay any of the other Last to Leave VC videos, as they're all enjoyable and chaotic at every moment. Roblox_oof.mp3 to many people is one of their favorite videos on YouTube, going over the origin of the Roblox death sound and who made it, which, upon researching, raises many other questions that makes this video an hour and a half longer than it originally intended to be. There's not a lot I can say without basically hinting or spoiling at the entire video, but if it's favorited by many people, even people like Jack's Films, I think that says a lot about how interesting and superb this well put together video is, or really any content that comes from H-Bomber Guy. Midway through the first long video roulette, there was a crucial point where one of the long videos mentioned was my favorite long video out of all of them, stating it was the best long video I've watched. That being Masked Dancers Meeting the Gods I Never Knew by Galactic Hole. Of course, over 300 long videos would be watched since that statement, and throughout that period, this video would inevitably be dethroned, no longer being my favorite long video of all time. This new favorite long video of mine is by the same person. YOTSUBA, the 5-year-old who taught me love again, would be the 300th long video we'd watch. The video number placement was not a coincidence and was planned out weeks in advance to be the next 100th long video. This nearly hour-long video, as the title implies, explores the manga YOTSUBA and how it taught Galactic Hole love again in life, making his own happiness and going deep into life experiences of his, and loving everything. This is a video that not only is important and an impact to Galactic Hole, but to me as well. I know how biased it sounds that my favorite long video would be overthrown by another video by the same person, but if I may, as this segment is very long, these videos from Galactic have impacted and resonated with me in many ways, like how the Masked Dancers video introduced me to Galactic's favorite album that would eventually become my favorite album too, or how the YOTSUBA video led me to engage more with creative works out there and get around to many projects I probably wouldn't have even picked up without these videos. I've realized and understood a lot more out there because of these videos, and I'll always be thankful that they exist and how much they truly mean to me. This would also be the last known accessible video on Galactic's channel for nearly 2 years, with almost no signs of activity afterward. I want to take this opportunity to delve deeper into this YOTSUBA video in a way, though it'd be better if it came from none other than the man who created it himself.
All right, this footage looks awful color-wise, but we're just gonna roll with it. One thing I've felt very strongly thinking about the YOTSUBA video again is that it's very hard for me to get in that headspace of where I was when I was making it. And a big part of that is because in the year and a half since that video was uploaded, so much life has happened to me. So many more worse and better experiences have transpired and shaped me in a different way that it's just hard for me to think about like who I was at that point in my life. That's one of the big reasons why I've disconnected myself from the Galactic Hole name, is because I just feel like such a different person now, that trying to release any work under that name or even just present myself under that name feels very disingenuous. It feels very hard to do. The Galactic Hole name is so rooted in the me from like 2016 to 2023, and I can't assign who I am now and who I want to be to that name. So I've stepped aside from that name, kind of for good. Thinking about how much has happened in my life is really interesting as a thought experiment to, if I were to make a video like that now, how much more interesting it could probably be. How much more I could get into, how much more resonant I feel like I could make it be. At the time, I was very curious what that general reception to that video would be like. To me, it's very much me opening up and feeling life experiences resonate through a piece of media. And I feel like I just have so many better examples of that now. When I read YOTSUBA, it was so good at creating huge, indescribable emotions in me. And that was a very unique experience for me at that time. And now, having lived a lot more and having a lot more I feel like I can use to resonate with, it's been easier for me to see myself in other things and have those big emotions be created inside me. The thing I got from YOTSUBA was this idea of just like finding fun in everything and making your own happiness. And that's still very important to me now. It's just not as huge as some of the other things I could get into right now, right? There's hella a video I could make about arches. There's like hella a video I could make about monotone blue. Quadruply hella a video I could make about Arashi no Yoruni. That would like be so much more resonant, so much more interesting, get into so many more things if I were to make a video kind of in the same style or that same approach as the YOTSUBA one. So I'm not sure that's something that I like want to do. I think it would make a very, very impactful and important video, like important to myself, but I just don't know if that's the kind of thing I want to work on anymore. And because it would get into such deep deep territory. If I were really to flesh out everything I could, that would be a very difficult video for me to make and then also upload, because I'm just not very good at opening up about certain things. I just want to be happy. I just want to be positive. I just want to share good experiences. This theoretical, deeper video I could make, I don't think it's ever going to happen. I still very much like the YOTSUBA video in this idea of a time capsule. At this exact moment in time, here are my concerns. Here's what's important to me. And I think that's a very interesting thing to look back on if I were inclined to watch my own video again, which I don't feel inclined to do. It's also very interesting to know that at the time, I definitely felt like I kind of had things figured out. And I was making this video in part because I was like, I have something I can share. I have experiences I've been through. I have something to say. And comparing that to where I am now is like such a night and day thing about how much more I could have to talk about. And now knowing from this comparison between these 2 points, in a year and a half from now, in however many years from now, I'm going to have that same feeling of that younger version of me didn't know what he's talking about at all. Right. And I think it's been very important and interesting to me to realize, like, you just never stop having incredible, life-changing experiences that shift big things within you.
Scott the Woz would start a Let's Play with him and his friends playing one game from the Nintendo Switch's Clubhouse games, 51 worldwide classics, every week lasting an entire year. Someone would eventually compile all 52 videos, or episodes, into a 12-hour video, with the final episode being cut short by 20 minutes due to YouTube's 12-hour video length limit. The Nintendo Switch's Clubhouse games, 51 worldwide classics, would contain 51 worldwide classics, spanning from card games and board games to sports, all being laid out cleanly and simply. This is one of these videos that feels reassuring to me, like something I can come back to and rewatch every so often, or leave on in the background while doing something or sleeping. It also makes that much more inconvenient now due to the user who uploaded this video has since closed their account, making the only way to access this content is by watching the original videos or episodes themselves individually on Scott's stash. There have been many instances out there where people will discover and attempt to crash a game in some peculiar way, sometimes being a very specific and complex procedure so bizarre. One of these very specific and complex procedures so bizarre is crashing Super Mario 64 using a pendulum. Pan and Coke would... Anytime, and I mean anytime, I attempt to pronunciate a non-native word, I always mispronounce it and get it wrong. So, let's try this again. Pan and Coek would commentate a 1-hour, highly in-depth analysis and guide showcasing how to crash Super Mario 64 using an in-game pendulum. The layers this video has, and the amount of time and effort it took for this video is applauding and worth your time. As silly as this video sounds, it's absorbing how it all gets broken down. One key factor that felt out of place in the first long video roulette was how many mentioned videos there were in the music loops category, elucidating something like, as I said at the beginning of this video, 9 Cat 12 Hours or Snowy except it keeps getting slower doesn't allow for a more proper demonstration like everything else mentioned in this video so far. This subject is being raised again due to this next mentioned video following the same criteria, though if you'll allow me, it stands out a lot differently than the rest for many reasons. Long Cube is a virtually 29-hour video of a spinning cube followed with a grainy synthetic hum. That's it. What makes this stand out to me is the mysterious, weird, quirky vibe it gives off, alongside being unknown, with, at the time, less than 1,000 views. This would also be the longest video we've watched by far for a prolonged period of time. Anytime I hear these sound bites, which, in case you're wondering, is Bloodstains by 100 Gex, feel free to attempt hearing that connection. Anytime I hear these sound bites today will likely trigger memories that tie around what I was doing with others during the time this was watched as a long video in mainly February of 2024. There's quite a few long videos in general I'll look back upon that remind me of where and how everything was at the time, all of this being an experience that I don't know if I will have again. 1396 is an hour-long gameplay video of an underground indie game named Press Any Button. The game starting off as a simple test before shifting more toward a unique catching falling blocks game with more to this than meets the eye, taking a hard-hitting turn the further you get into this story. This may sound familiar as I've covered this game, video, and the entire channel who uploaded 1396 in a previous video essay of mine. This game has its ups and downs, but is heavily underrated and worth seeing, as I've blabbered about this game numerous times. This is the point where the third wheel for long videos would mostly be complete. There would be 3 videos remaining on one wheel, as certain circumstances around this time occurred that nearly killed long videos that is better left private. These 3 videos would be watched additionally in the future. Like it always has been, the 4th wheel would be next, already being set up. The only problem is it never really made progress and got far at all. This wasn't because long videos were at a stop or on a break, it just never really made it anywhere. From this point forward, the death of long video roulette would begin. The 4th wheel never exactly had a big gimmick as much as the last 2 wheels. The wheel would have 5 categories and in total over 100 videos. These categories being watches, soundtracks, 1-hour listens, 10-hour listens, and every season of Angry Video Game Nerd. Don't ask me. We would allow ourselves the option to have 2 slots for long videos. Let's say we roll something really bad and put it in slot 1 to watch at a later date. With slot 2 being empty, we can spin the wheel again and get something better to watch, although the wheel cannot be spun again until 1 slot or long video is cleared. The 4th wheel never made it far, not because it was flawed or boring, times just changed. Almost every long video past this point hasn't exactly came from a wheel of sorts by choice. We would simply begin watching whatever we found or whatever we were suggested and so on. Let me know if you see some difference in these mentioned long videos past this point. Nepesta would land on this list thanks to his longest video to date being a 2.5-hour highlights video of Deep Dip 2 Shallow Dip on Trackmania, taking him roughly 56 hours in the process to clear. This would be one of Nepesta's favorite grinds and a wonderfully edited video packed with funny and amazing highlights.
Deep Dip 2. Bride of Dippy.
I'm gonna kill that announcer.
As much as it isn't Geometry Dash, which is what he's most known for, any variety of content he does is bound to be entertaining, and this video proves that with how much it delivers. This next video has influenced my life by a margin within this last year, and not exactly in a bad way. In the first long video roulette, I mentioned steamed hams, but every repeated word loops back to its last use, where anytime a word was repeated, it would go back to the previous instance of said word and continue from there. This was a really funny video and had its own small bit in the first long video roulette. Since then, another variation of this repeated word gimmick would rise up that not only gained a lot more traction than steamed hams, but began a new trend of content but every repeated word loops back to its last use. This video would also impact a lot more than you'd think. Albuquerque, but every time they repeat a word it loops. I'm sure a lot of you are ecstatic that I uttered those words out of my mouth here. R-Wappin created an unofficial music video in 2006 for Weird Al's 11-minute song being his longest, titled Albuquerque. This animation would receive the attention it deserves for a few years until 2024, when a few videos revolving around this animation would blow up and amass a cult following, hence the community the Albuquerque animation formed. The 12-hour Albuquerque repeated word video would also be hilarious and follow the same path as the steamed hams video, but just much longer. The entire video would be sped up quite a bit to stay under 12 hours in length due to YouTube's 12-hour video length limit, which would be bypassed a few days later using a technique that should be gatekept so YouTube doesn't patch, allowing the 17-hour Albuquerque video to exist at normal speed. The reason all of this mildly impacted my life in the last year is because of this channel that I'm a big part of that wouldn't have made it as far as it has or even exist if all of this never had a resurgence. Every 100th long video we watched would always be extra special, most of them being mentioned throughout this long video roulette series. This is where we reach the next destination, the 400th long video, and obviously we made sure it was a special video. I Wanna Be the GBC is an I Wanna Be the Guy fan game that was laboriously worked on with a ton of collaborators, the concept being most, if not all, screens structuring around the first screen of I Wanna Be the GB. This layout foundation will always be around throughout the entire fan game with many adjustments and pinches that makes this repetitive idea one of the coolest fan games I've seen. I would receive more than just one comment on the first long video roulette suggesting to check out a 100% completion video of the fan game involving highlights, more specifically an 8.5-hour video by Nins. Nins and Point, who also took part in editing the I Wanna See the Mayumushi video mentioned in the first long video roulette, would dedicate 3 months to editing the 100% completion and highlights sprinkled throughout the video together with special guests appearing too. Some have stated their favorite long form video on YouTube is this video, watching it more than once, or even going as far as taking inspiration to play the Fangame itself and completing it. Stamping this as the 400th long video milestone was fitting and absolutely worth the 8.5-hour watch. But hang on, before we move on, we have the million-dollar question. If you had to guess, how many views does the GBC video have? 300,000, 80,000, 2 million, or 15,000? Now we know the answer can't possibly be 15,000 with a video this persevering. Oh my god, it has 15,000 views. Upon me learning about this video only having 15,000 views, I was actually shocked. A video with this much content and material, and 4 years later it amounts to only 15,000 views? I expected this video to have hundreds of thousands of views minimum. The amount of time and videos I've seen on YouTube, there's been nothing I've seen as underground and underrated as this. If you can take anything from long videos, this is one that cannot be overlooked. I wanted to reach out to Nins and Point to hear if they had anything they'd like to say about this gargantuan video. A spreadsheet was provided that documented the progression of them editing the GBC video at the time, and how while the GBC video was being edited, Nins was still playing and grinding the hardest and worst part of the game, which was a terrible experience to her. And as a content creator, I think many can agree and connect with that feeling and experience of editing or working on any sort of project that doesn't yet have an end goal, something that is still in progress. Point sent over an audio recording, which I'll let play and end this segment off with that.
Hi, this is Point, one of the editors for the GBC video, and I've been asked to provide some of my experiences and commentary while I was working on the video. Specifically, the GBC video was a challenge. It was like 8 hours long, or well, still is 8 hours long, and we had like 40 streams to get through, and we had to split halfway through between me and Nins, and we had this entire spreadsheet where we were planning everything. I couldn't put as much effort as I maybe wanted to put into every single one of the streams, because I wanted to get it done by the end of summer, because then school starts and, you know, the free time stops pretty much. But yeah, I think it got out like the first week of September in 2021, and I'm incredibly happy with it. I think video editing in general is very creatively fulfilling. I think it's very cool, especially because you don't need to be like a super talented artist, right, to become a video editor. You just have to have a drive to create videos and make something, right, and you can share it with people, and I think that's very beautiful and very awesome. The amount of effort that I poured into it actually made me pretty anxious about the video flopping, like not doing very well, right, like who wants to watch an 8-hour video of basically the same screen over and over again, right, but it did really well. Like 15,000 views might not sound like a huge amount, but this is the Fangame community we're talking about, right? This like small niche community with not a lot of members, and the fact that I got 15,000, let alone like we got Nepesta to comment on the video, which is like insane to me. But yeah, that's cool, and I think I would really recommend, you know, not to toot my own horn too much, but it's a pretty good video, so I think you should go and watch it after you're done watching this one, and let me know what you think. I would really appreciate that.
Long Cube was expected to be the longest video we'd watched for a really long time, or ever. Surprisingly, that has changed. For reference, as of this video going live, these are the 5 longest videos we've watched, the gaps between each one being noticeably distant, especially the longest one. I present to you the longest video we will probably ever watch. The Crazy Dance 50 is a 50-hour loop of a Roblox character dancing whilst playing Assumptions by Sam Gellatry, which you've likely heard before. As much as this video is much bigger and longer than any other long video we've watched, it doesn't compete with Long Cube. Long Cube has this puzzling, eccentric tone, while Crazy Dance is just over the top and very electrifying. I still love both of them, don't get me wrong, but Long Cube will always be something above Crazy Dance to me. And not because of the memories I had during Long Cube. I've had a river of memories during Crazy Dance too, like what I did during that time with friends. Coincidentally, a good chunk of Long Cube was watched in February of 2024, and practically all of Crazy Dance was watched in February of 2025. It didn't actually take us a year to finish Crazy Dance. There comes this pattern of watching an excessively abnormal long video every February, which is something many of us now will gather around and do again next February as a yearly tradition, likely already being accomplished again if you're watching this after February of 2026, or 2027. Now there's the question of, will you watch something longer than the Crazy Dance 50? I've always said no, but like I said about there being a second long video roulette, we might consider it. And it's not because we want to watch the longest video we can. I just want to have something like a yearly tradition where many friends assemble and hang out for a good month with whatever niche long video we do end up selecting. ZRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRR 2, they would compile 10 of the worst games they've played that nobody else has into one 5-hour video of the top 10 worst games nobody has played, each game being unfathomably bad, but very watchable and entertaining, special thanks to the 2 hosts that commentate through everything. In fact, the commentary is so well done that they make these games seem hilarious and actually fun.
If you clear one condition during the game, it will what? What condition?
Without a doubt, it's a splendid video. Even if it's a compilation of selected previous videos they've made, it's still really comical and nice to watch.
I'm an eagle!
The same person who published 1396 that was mentioned earlier in this video is being mentioned again for 1 and 1-2, which may sound confusing. 1 and 1-2 are both live streams totaling to 23 hours in length that marks the finale and closing of a 4.5-year project, Don't Forget, We'll Meet Each Other. These 2 live streams consist of many varieties of games being played, such as Getting Over It, Wonder Stop, hosting a Minecraft server, and many more games. I asked Zalp, the creator of this project, what their final thoughts on all of this was and the project in general.
Hey, my name is Zalp, I go by they and she, I'm German, I'm the owner of Zalp, Zalp Stuff, Fern Fella. You're here for Don't Forget We'll Meet Each Other, let's not kid around. So I'm just gonna ramble about what Don't Forget We'll Meet Each Other is, what the project means to me, how I felt during 1, which is kinda what this is all about. So, how do I explain Don't Forget We'll Meet Each Other? Well, it was a project, web series, gift, elaborate clock, YouTube channel, whatever you wanna call it, for 2 online friends of mine, Yellow Amarillo and Sergeant Table. I met them in an Undertale roleplay server when I was 17. Someday, we had the thought of meeting each other in real life, visiting each other's countries, hugging each other, but that would take years. So I did what any rational person would do. I'd make as many videos as I could before even preparing the channel or telling them, which I did a day before 1600. And it highly surprised me that they actually enjoyed the idea. And so I made these episodes, made my own little story too, in hopes they would react, which they ever barely did. Every episode has a different thing behind them, maybe a game, an activity, or anything really. And one of the rules was, I can't redo things. And yeah, it was basically just me making these episodes for 4.5 years. But some Yellow Mate on One Table did, and that was really sweet, because they didn't have to. So what does Don't Forget We'll Meet Each Other mean to me? It was my first try at something big and actually finishing it. I mean, I'm still proud of it to this day. I was able to try out things which would have been harder on actual channels. Sketch comedy, let's playing while playing a character, animations, reading creepypastas, experimental things in general. It was also a recording of me from 18 to 22. It's a time capsule for me. It's a snapshot in time. I also evolved and got a little community out of it, which I now stream to weekly and entertain with videos. I would not be who I am without this little gift that kept on giving. I consider Slash a friend of mine, thanks to Don't Forget We'll Meet Each Other. If I could bring Neo back, the first thing I would say is thank you. Thank you, Neo. Now I'm sorry for the 2-minute tangent. What y'all asking is probably, how did I feel during 1? Honestly, surprised by the size that actually showed up. 38-ish was the lowest and 120-ish was the highest. I also learned what having a big stream is like. I also was exhausted for most of the time. Only at the beginning I was actually fully awake. I haven't slept 24 hours beforehand to prepare the whole thing. I didn't plan on falling asleep so often during the stream, obviously. Back then that was embarrassing, but nowadays I think it was hilarious. I also almost missed the end if my dad wouldn't have drove the cleaning robot against the door to wake me up. So thank you, Dad. Honestly, the video essay Slash made was, I think, one of my favorite moments of the stream, next to the Minecraft server and the ending. But making a game with you was also quite fun. Next to, of course, Penguin Cafe, the Don't Forget quiz. But holy shit, was it weird to watch a video essay about yourself. But really, I don't think I could ever fully explain this and tell you how I fully felt. Words cannot explain this. You just have to watch this clock yourself. Not because I gain anything through that, never did, but more to even understand it. Oh, also, subscribe to SlashPod and leave a nice comment. I mean, look at the length of this shit.
Out of the currently 12 caretaker-related projects we've watched as long videos, only one of them has really spiked my interest. I'm not sure what people invariably think of the caretaker and fan community-related projects that have developed over the years, but I'd like to sit down and mention at least one of them. Milwaukee Protocol by the Patients is a 3-hour collection of 4 albums together worked on by a diversity of people that resembles the progression of human rabies and how it would depict someone's thoughts and emotions emotions throughout it, being deeply inspired by the works of The Caretaker and others. Listening to Milwaukee Protocol is something you can't wrap your head around the thought of. I won't try to spill a lot of its contents for spoilers because this is an experience I commend immensely and wish for others to experience blind, though it can be terrifying and demanding for some to listen through. This is the only project when it comes to Caretaker-related projects as a whole that has really hit me. As much as I'm not a fanatic over Caretaker-inspired projects, this means a lot to me, especially being works of music and ambience. It's hard for me to really sink deep into ambient or musical projects so powerful enough that it impacts me in a way of feeling strong emotion upon every re-listen. The Patience is led and composed by Pixiryu, who I decided to call up for this video to see what they had to say about Milwaukee Protocol and interesting facts surrounding it.
Oh Jesus. Where are my FL Studio plugins? Where's my MacBook? Can I go home? Can I please go home? Hey guys, Pix here. I am being voluntarily interviewed by Slashedport about Milwaukee Protocol, so I might as well tell you a couple fun stories from its development and what it's meant to both me as the creator and to the people who have listened to it. Milwaukee Protocol originally started as a Halloween project by me and a couple other people to basically just go ahead and go, hey, what if we made some spooky music and did it in 4 releases that we released every week? And that went about the way you'd expect. I was burned out by the second release, and eventually, with the second release, aka Day 2 dealing directly with insomnia, this did not end well, as you can probably imagine. The end result was chronic initiation insomnia that has persisted to this day and is mostly kept in check by medication. However, the side effect of getting a chronic condition is that it also gives you more production time since you need to take a break from production for a while. As compared to the first release, which was created in under a week, and the second release, which was created in a little over a week, Day 3 got nearly a month of production time and Day 4 got a month and a half. While every part of Milwaukee Protocol, in my completely and totally unbiased opinion, is pretty good, Days 3 and 4 were the days with a lot to prove, as they represented the turning point and the conclusion of the project, so I'm happy that they got that extra production time, and I would do it again if I have to. The big thing I've noticed with Milwaukee Protocol is that it's a bit divisive for, like, you know, the normal audience, but for the people who relate to it, it usually tends to impact them pretty deeply, and while that audience is relatively small, I have met them in some unexpected places. Would you believe me if I said that I met someone who knew about Milwaukee Protocol on a Kerbal Space Program Discord? How about a Roblox You May Nikki game? How about someone in Catalog Avatar Creator, a game with like 80,000 players? I just happened to get sorted into their server, we talked for a bit, and then they recognized me. It's weird and rare, but it's nice to have created something that people relate to so deeply, or at the very least were comforted by, which is kind of funny to say considering, you know. So anyway, that's my 5 cents on it, and what it comes down to in the end is that I'm happy to have created something that people could relate or be affected by or be comforted by. Milwaukee Protocol goes through all sorts of moods and phases, and I'm happy that people have found relation and comfort in some of these. I would like to clarify that Milwaukee Protocol is by no means a solo venture, however. Over 50 people contributed to it and had their submissions included, and while I did compile, assemble, render, and conceive of the project, I had people like Departure, Cinnamon, and Phi Sigma alongside to help me. They and all the other contributors are probably the main reason why it turned out as well as it did. Cinnamon in particular was the only one who was able to source the CDs and relevant materials to get it, you know, on a CD, which should hopefully be shown on screen now. I never imagined I would be in this position where I'm able to have fun with this and just make music I enjoy. I never imagined I'd be in a position where I could meet people so talented, so creative, and people who are generally just good people. But I'm glad I did in the end. Slashport? Can I go home now? Slashport, can I go home now? Can I please go home now?
During the conclusion of the first long video roulette, it was teased that the last 10 long videos before the second 1,000 hour long video were already planned out, each one being distinctive. I think you know what time it is. A few weeks before we reached the last 10 long videos, I semi-publicly posted a website labeled longlivelongvideos. Going to this page presents a countdown and other information like video 1 of 10 and the total length of long videos watched coming up on the next 1,000 hours. There would also be a live viewer counter on the website to show how many people were here. This website of mine would attempt to be an alternative watch together page where the last 10 long videos would play at an exact point that anyone from anywhere can watch together. It was a bit scuffed, but was ultimately resolved over time. Starting on May 26th, one long video would be broadcasted on the website every day until all 10 of the last long videos were finished, hitting the next long-awaited milestone on the dot on June 4th, exactly 3 years after long videos began. What made this more enticing was 8 of the last 10 long videos were kept hidden in Long Video Roulette and everybody else, even our friend group. I was the only one who really knew all of the last 10 long videos, and as special as these videos are, I haven't even watched most of them at all beforehand. So to everyone, even most of us, were unaware and prepared for each of these last 10 long videos, some being more nosy and impatient than others. The first of the last 10 is a 1-hour loop of Everlong by the Foo Fighters. Like I've said about these kinds of videos, not a lot to say. But it feels very appropriate and fitting as the first of the last 10 just to kind of get things going. The description of this video would state verbatim, dynamically extended song, with a resyncloboblimated music video to match. Half of the song was snipped and poorly looped. What do you mean resyncloboblimated? Can you tell I didn't watch or even skim through most of these last 10 long videos? The second of the last 10 would follow the same basis as Everlong, also being a 1-hour loop of the track Alone in the Town from Silent Hill 2. To many, this long video is just like the previous to get things going. But to me, at that point there in long videos, this was one of my favorites out of the 10. The mood this sets is relaxing and comforting, but also settling in how close we are to something that was once so far away. I loved everything about this, and still do. The third of the last 10 would be a compilation album of selected works by Pinegrove, titled Everything So Far. This would also set the mood, as not only is this indie rock album phenomenal, but as the title suggests, it's everything so far, giving me just that little bit more of reassurance at that point in long video history, looking back at everything so far. The fourth of the last 10 would be the final performing show from the band The Brave Little Abacus. The only significance of this video having this much value and praise here is because of the Masked Dancers video from Galactic Hole, a video in which was brought together using his favorite album as a core focus to piece other thoughts of his together, that album being composed by the Brave Little Abacus. This wasn't placed here because it was my favorite album too, and my favorite band, or Masked Dancers being one of my favorite long videos, though I won't deny that's some of the reasoning why it was placed here, but I also learned that if the Masked Dancers video were to never exist, or if I were to never acknowledge or stumble across it, Long Video Roulette likely wouldn't have strived to make it as far as it has, or even be a thing today. Galactic's Masked Dancers and YOTSUBA video would always be refreshing and uplift my motivation to work on the hardworking projects I persuade, which is why the last show from the Brave Little Abacus is elevated this high. This would also coincidentally be watched on May 29th, the same day the Brave Little Abacus released one of their 2 or 3 albums of theirs exactly 15 years ago. The fifth of the last 10 would be Plagiarism and You by HBomberGuy, who also published Roblox_oof.mp3. This almost 4-hour video essay examines through content creators on YouTube who have plagiarized other people's work without credit or marked it as their own. This video would actually be spoken of in the first Long Video Roulette due to Man in Cave, another long video that was deemed magnificent enough to be mentioned in Long Video Roulette, was accused of plagiarizing from an article written years before Man in Cave was worked on and uploaded, the verdict being guilty. Plagiarism and YouTube would scrutinize many other cases of plagiarism like the example Man in Cave represented, slowly falling down a rabbit hole that I'll leave for you to find out and watch for yourself. The sixth of the last 10 would be a 2-hour video from Master Maxify, who has a decent history when it comes to long video history, 3 other long-form videos of his being advocated in the first Long Video Roulette. The ultimate fangame quest would be a challenge that Max created for himself to clear 100 I Wanna Be the Guy fangames, many being very diverse, moderately growing in difficulty the further he advances throughout the list. With that said, this would be an ongoing challenge for Max, taking 2 years in the process to fully complete, the output being a 2-hour highlights video of each fangame completion presenting other bits that have occurred along the way. The ultimate fangame quest is something that means a lot to Max, being one of, if not his favorite projects and videos he's created to this day. But of course, it would be better and more special if you heard it more from Max himself.
Hey there, I'm Master Maxify. Believe it or not, I am the guy behind the Ultimate Fangame quest, and hopefully, eventually one day the last CIS video. So Slash told me to come here today to talk a little bit about the Ultimate Fangame Quest, and that made me really happy because the Ultimate Fangame Quest is one of my all-time favorite videos I've ever worked on to date. Even if I've had some videos that are maybe longer or grander, the Ultimate Fangame Quest has so much meaning to me. This video, it spans such a long period of time of my life that I enjoyed so much. It was a period of time where I truly started finding my place when it comes to streaming and the community that I was involved in. Everything was kind of coming together at that time period, and I met so many lovely and fantastic people in that period of streaming. At the end of it all, I compiled everything from the quest into a 2-hour video, compiling all of the accomplishments that we made, all of the funny moments, all of the disasters that we had. It encompassed everything, encompassed so much. I think one of my favorite things about this video is that most of the time when I'm making videos, I use the original raw footage from the streams and I look through it and I find the highlights and edit it down or whatnot. Of the Ultimate Fangame Quest, back then, I wasn't highlighting or keeping every stream I ever made. So for a lot of these games, I actually didn't have original streams. All I had were a few highlights I made of like the last save in a game or the last boss, as well as maybe some of the streams later on for some of the harder games. But the reason the video was possible to make was actually thanks to you guys, those watching the streams, because most of the content from that video is actually the Twitch clips that existed for that entire time period. I downloaded all of them, and I edited them through with my own edits and made it make sense continuity-wise, and that beautiful product of a video came out afterwards. So that video is a huge thank you from me to everyone who engaged in watching and took part in helping to make that video. Breakson, signing out. Breakson.
The 7th of the last 10 doesn't have any major connections as the other ones, but would be one of the 3 leftover long videos from the third wheel, the 2 other long videos already being watched at some point in time, one even being discussed earlier in this video. The last long video on the third wheel would be watched now, technically finishing off the third wheel for good. This video being a Hardcore Friday stream by Joel from Vinesauce playing Where's Waldo, and take 4 hours to win. The time I had watching this tedious process while being half awake made the experience of watching this video even more tedious. This video isn't bad, but definitely one of my lesser favorites of the last 10. I think just watching the highlights version of it is better, and that concludes the third wheel. The 8th of the last 10 marks the final unknown long video, being Doug forcing an AI to play a children's game, Pajama Sam. Some consider this 2-hour video of Doug's to be his best video, jam-packed with a hilarious narrative and multiple layers of humorous moments all around, personally being my favorite video from Doug and one of my favorite long videos out of the last 10. This long video was a satisfying and strong finish before the last 2 long videos that solely revolve around long videos themselves. It had been 7 months after Long Video Roulette was published before finally getting around to being watched as a long video. It was planned to be the second to last long video watched before the second 1,000 hour long video. Some people in our group would watch Long Video Roulette individually, but never as a group for it to count as a long video or be valid, as one of the rules for long videos is to have 2 or more people present while listening or watching a long video together. And I myself avoided watching or even viewing Long Video Roulette in any way since its release and wouldn't watch it until the time was here and real. I won't say much about this, as there's not much more to say about it. A video giving attention and praise to creative works others have fulfilled out there to merely appreciate that we've stumbled upon, including our journey that, in the moment, almost everyone was together. Everyone who had been here throughout this journey, everyone was here. The end again would be the final long video before achieving the next 1,000 hour milestone and fill in that last crack for the second 1,000 hour long video, something that was in the making for 19 months. The end again is the second installment to closing off the 1,000 hour long videos. The concept of the end and the end again is one random, hilarious, or clever second of every long video we compiled that would then be slowed down by 100 times, so at the very end of the 1,000 hour long videos, you would witness one clear second of every long video at normal speed. The end again would be 7 hours long and inevitably march toward the end of the next 1,000 hours, the second 1,000 hour long video, and ultimately, Long Video Roulette 2. The final 1 second in the process would rise up, and the page would slowly fade into white as all of the text blends into nothingness, ceasing to exist, with the only thing remaining being where long videos all started. I was put under a lot of emotional weight during the production of this video, like being overwhelmed with passion. This long video roulette series, to me, is the most important projects I've ever worked on in my life. Giving it my all, making it the best I can, like featuring unexpected cameos of creators to give commentary on their own beloved work provided here that's meaningful and impactful to me and others who have watched it. The meaning and definition of long videos has warped so many times in my head that I just find it beautiful now. Long videos likely started as a joke, that then turned into this statistic of watching one long video after another just to say we've watched this much long-form content for this long. I eventually found comfort in long videos as a group thing, in activity shared among others while exploring whatever wacky long-form content there is out there. This wacky long-form content transforming into interesting and brilliant works of people's ambitions and projects that we view and experience as a group together just for me to make this very video you're watching, sharing and cherishing some of many astounding and reverberating works out there that have resonated with us for others out there to experience. To go the extra mile, people have watched through a lot of the long videos we've watched and even go as far as starting their own long video journey as well, some even saying Long Video Roulette is their favorite video on YouTube's platform, which is something I can't even begin to think about. I want long videos to be something that goes far, not something that we push to its limits, like watching a dozen 100-hour-long videos or the longest videos on YouTube's platform. By that point, what meaning is there for long videos? There's at least some boundary between watching entertaining long-form content in 10-hour loops, not multiple grueling days of content just to say you've watched it. The condition of wheels for long videos still exists, but carries so much dust due to how long it's been since it was last touched, making Long Video Roulette no longer Long Video Roulette. Would Long Video Roulette 3 be called Long Video Roulette 3 at this pace? The fourth wheel was planned to be the last wheel, before moving on to lists. Lists would have been something like 100%ing a channel or various content. The first list being something like 100%ing every quasi-exec video, in total being 444 hours in length. The second list being to 100% every long video from Scott the Woz, in total being around 400 hours in length. The third list being 10 hours of every Minecraft music disc, being 190 hours in length. Nothing more was planned from that point forward. These ideas are partly still on the table, but very unlikely that we'll ever get around to this. So, will there be a Long Video Roulette 3? I mean, there's no reason why there wouldn't be. Why stop working on a series of projects that's passionate not only to you, but to others too? Of course, I can't do this every year for 3 reasons. I either won't have it in me to do this a 3rd and 4th and 5th time. We also likely will not watch 1,000 hours of content per year according to how often we watch long videos on average, meaning there's a good probability when the next anniversary comes around, we won't even be at the next 1,000-hour milestone, thus releasing prematurely or being unfinished. As of posting, we're only at 2,100 hours watched total. As much as we probably could watch 2.5 hours worth of long-form content out there every day for the next year, I just don't think it's happening. That and any kind of circumstances could happen in the foreseeable future that kills long videos. I felt the idea of a second Long Video Roulette at the time was unnecessary and something I couldn't pull off. Though, with the help of Galactic's videos always being there, it's always driven me forward to continue with projects such as Long Video Roulette. Once I had truly understood what long videos meant to me and the many comments I've gotten of Long Video Roulette being highly favorited, it would just be foul of me to say a second Long Video Roulette isn't necessary. When I publicized Long Video Roulette to finally be out there after months, if not longer, of thinking, formatting, and working to make it a real thing that I may be satisfied with, the experience of feeling post-project blues hit me for the first time ever. Finishing a project you so passionately care for and execute that once it's all over and complete, you feel nothing but emptiness. And I'm positive I'll feel the same way with this video too the moment I click publish. I would have never expected this outcome, and to whoever has favorited and supported Long Video Roulette all this time, I genuinely appreciate it. I never thought something like this, let alone any content of mine, would be so special and impactful to others, and I thank all of you for watching. As mentioned in the first long video roulette, a form and other additional information like the spreadsheet and playlist for long videos can be found in the pinned comment where you can view or suggest long videos, whether it's your favorite long video ever that really resonates with you, or something outlandish and interesting, anything goes. Obviously, every suggested long video will not be watched, mainly due to there being more long video suggestions than long videos we've watched total. And lastly, of course, the version of Wordle in the form of long videos where my 600 win streak has yet to be broken, with all of my statistics recorded nearly daily shown here. I think everything has been said. Alright, it is currently 1:29 in the morning. I don't usually do this. Here's the video. Long live long videos.